Hello world, you're watching 80s Music Twin Ranked. I'm Joel.
I'm Chris.
Today, Sir Richard Starkey,
Right.
otherwise known as Ringo Starr.
Right. I didn't realize Starkey is Star. It's just a shortened version of his last name.
Kinda.
Extra R.
Extra R, right?
Yeah. Okay, so here's his solo career. He's got more albums. And starting in the 90s, he had what he called an all-star band. So you just get people that are really famous. All-Star, S-D-A-R-R.
Correct.
That was neat.
Yeah, and he tapped into like everybody. Now, on later albums, it would be like people like Steven Tyler of Aerosmith, Tom Petty, others like that. But the beginning one had some people I liked. His first guitarist was Joe Walsh. Then he had
Some of the other
Nils Lofgren, who
didn't he have more
probably,
Eagles
but
too?
I'm just talking about the very first album. Nils Lofgren, part of the E Street Band. He had 3 members of the band. If you ever saw The Last Waltz by Martin Scorsese, which I did.
One of the first things he did was he directed a documentary. You see
Yes. Born to Boogie. Okay, which is a good connection, right?
Okay.
His directorial debut was Born to Boogie, which was a documentary on T-Rex.
Right.
And then he later did a movie
Called
about
Caveman.
with T-Rex in it as well.
Yeah, so I did my research on Ringo Starr, which consisted of
Just watching Caveman.
Did you watch it?
I still haven't got through it. I'm
No.
trying to watch it piece by piece.
I watched it. It's only an hour and a half, so
I know,
I watched the
I'm
whole
busy at
thing. It's
My wife
hilarious.
didn't want to watch it.
The movie, it's a fun movie.
It is. It's
stupid, but it's fun.
And it's
so
pretty much here's the thing we pick on. Then we pick on this, like when he was petting the dinosaur.
Yeah. I remember petting the dinosaur.
Well, the old black.
Oh, the blind guy hit, and then he hit him with it. Okay. So it begins with like 61 billion years BC, I think it's
Yes, October 9th.
October 9th, which I don't know if you saw this. That's actually John Lennon's birthday.
Oh, is it really?
Yes, that's
I did
John
not
Lennon's
know
birthday.
that. Okay, I thought that it. I remember it saying an actual time of day, like
Oh, you know, it
2:30
just-
in the morning or something. I don't know, but it didn't say that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I did watch the Siskel and Ebert review on that movie.
Okay.
They said it was caca because that was part of the movie.
Yeah.
So that Barbara Bach became his girlfriend because of that movie, right?
And then a year later,
And
after
I wonder if
after
that
it came
ever,
out, I think they
does
married.
that ever come up that he got to throw her into a pile of turd?
I'm sure it wasn't poop. It wasn't actual.
Well, no. Director's like, oh, I didn't know you were supposed to use real stuff. It's like, we have to throw you in that. Why is it real? Anyways, but Dennis Quaid, was that what that had to
Had to have one of his first roles.
Not his very first. He was in Breaking Away, which
Yeah,
is in the
right.
late 70s.
But that and Jaws 3. After Jaws 3, that's pretty much when he was.
Shelley Long was Cheers was already on by then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but was
At
it?
the very beginning, maybe.
I don't think so.
Really? Do you think that was before
I
Cheers?
think this was before Cheers.
Huh. Interesting.
But I guess she auditioned. She just grunted. She got the-
Right. Now, my favorite tie-in is not that. Obviously, it's James Bond. Because that's what Barbara Bach was a Bond girl
Yes.
prior to this.
Why, who knows?
Yes. Now, they both, Ringo Starr and Barbara Bach, eventually founded a company for charity purposes called the Lotus Foundation. And if you recall, that's the car.
Yeah.
From The Spy Who Loved Me, the movie she was in. So that's
Right.
kind of neat.
They went underwater and
All right.
they're coming out of the ocean. People were looking.
Camped on
He's
the
like,
beach.
he rolled down the window. He's dropping a fish on the beach.
Yeah. And he had some other movies too. He was in a spaghetti western called Blind Man, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
Other movies, but that honestly would have been his one big starring role.
He was in a movie way back called The Magic Christian.
With Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers.
Dumbest movie ever.
I
couldn't watch it.
There's a guy I know. He's like, it's one of his favorite movies, and I've seen clips of it, and I'm like, nah, my bag of tea. Nah, I don't like
Bag of
No,
tea.
yeah, okay. I don't like tea.
That's a British thing.
I know.
They're all British.
And I don't like tea, so there.
You know what? I had forgotten to mention last week for George Harrison. He remember that we mentioned the movie called The Rebels by Monty Python.
Yeah.
It was a parody of the Beatles. George Harrison was in that.
Okay.
It's interesting. He had a character of a movie that was a parody of him.
So, we'll say so this happened during the Beatles, when just before their last album was Abbey Road, I believe. What they said?
You mean full album, other than
Full
Let It Be?
album, yeah. So the album before, I think the White Album.
Okay.
He was so tired of John Lennon and Paul McCartney and their attitudes and Yoko Ono being around,
Right.
sad all the time, that he left and he went on a yacht with. I thought he said Barbara Bach, which I'm like. Was it around that time? Was it around? No, that wouldn't have been around that time. No, maybe it was with his wife, not Barbara Bach.
Okay,
that was the '80s. But he went on a yacht for a while. That Peter Sellers loaned him. It was Peter Sellers' yacht.
And he wasn't the Monty Python guy, but he was a comedian, obviously, from them. Now he also narrated Thomas the Train.
Right, he was the conductor,
The original one. Yeah, and then, I mean.
Thomas and
Nobody
Friends.
moved their lips.
It's called
so
Thomas
just
and Friends.
voiceovers, yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, the Shining Time Station went back then, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was Thomas and Friends. But over here in the U.S., it was Alec Baldwin, is who I remember. And he wasn't in any other TV shows that I can see that were popular. And he had bit parts in other people's. But as far as music goes, that was a fun stuff.
He just has some weird titles.
And you know what? I listened to him. His stuff sounds like novelty songs. You mentioned about George Harrison. All his songs sound like novelty songs.
Right.
When you listen to Obla Dee, Obla Die, all his songs sound like that song.
Snookeroo. He's got called Snookeroo.
That's
Elton John wrote it, or was on it? Played on
Elton
it?
John and Bernie Taupin.
Which is funny because Elton John had a song with George Harrison. In his solo career too.
Yeah, so it's a phrase about pool, but it was talking about the person.
Yeah.
Being a happy-go-lucky guy or something like that. And then he's got the other song about nonsense word, back off Boogaloo.
Boogaloo, yeah.
And Boogaloo, apparently Boogaloo is a term that's used today about riot people, so I don't know. But back then it was, I mean, I don't even know if it was a term you used for any particular thing. Sounds like the boogeyman to me.
Yeah.
But the video for that is really dumb. Back off Boogaloo. It's some guy in a Frankenstein outfit walking around chasing Ringo Starr.
So what was the hit? What was his biggest hit? It wasn't She's 16. It was the
Photograph.
Other one before Photograph. I thought there was another one that went really high. Photograph.
There was one that
Photograph was written by George Harrison, I believe.
Yeah, there was a song that went his biggest hit over in the UK called "It Don't Come Easy."
Oh, Don't Come Easy. Yes.
That was his biggest hit in the UK, but over here, "Photograph" should not have been a good hit.
Yeah.
And neither one of us liked it very much.
John Lennon wrote for him. Nobody told me.
He didn't want to.
Then
it was after he died.
No, he was going to give it to him, and then he got killed.
Yeah.
And Ringo Starr's like, it doesn't feel right to do it, so they already must have the vocals, obviously, because he put it out for himself.
I cannot believe. Okay, so here's how we know. So we're like, 80s music is the best decade. Here's how, just by Ringo Starr, here's how you know the 80s beat the 70s, okay? So, Photograph by Ringo Starr went all the way to #1. Okay? Photograph by Def Leppard only went up to like #8. Or 12 even. Actually 12. I think it's 12. And that's way better song. So that means Def Leppard was competing with a lot of really good stuff. And in the 70s, Ringo Starr had no competition, and his obviously got #1 because everything else sucks. Says me. Now, Def Leppard's, it did get to #1 on the rock chart, but not the normal chart. So have at it with what you will on that.
I don't know if you saw this, but on Ringo the Fourth, which is actually his 6th album, I don't know why he didn't call it the 6th, but Ringo the Fourth, he has a song he released, didn't go up there very far, Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley.
Robert Palmer.
Robert Palmer did it 3 years earlier.
Did he? Before Ringo Starr?
Yeah,
I didn't realize
it
it
was
was
first.
that early.
So I think, so Robert Palmer did a song. That was the title of his album, right? Because it had,
yes.
Remember
yes.
thing, right? Eyes were being blocked.
Yes.
Yeah, Ringo Starr redid it on an album. I released it. It didn't go too far though.
Yeah, yeah.
Thought that was kind of neat.
Did you see who wrote the No No song?
I did, but I can't remember.
Hoyt Axton.
Oh yeah, from Gremlins.
The father from Gremlins.
Yes, yes.
There's a funny video on this station called Cracked,
Right.
who does he's complaining about all the things about Gremlins.
Yeah,
Where the guy where he says, "This is my story," and then he's not even in it. One of my favorite things. So watch that clip about Gremlins.
Those guys all got fired too. That was the worst thing.
Yeah, that.
Because they were the best part of that
Right.
video YouTube
Yes.
show.
Yeah. Okay, so, and then if you look at the albums, I would say we didn't even need to write all his albums because almost all his albums were commercial failures. Somehow he is the richest drummer in the world.
Yeah, because he was the Beatles, that's why.
But his albums all sucked except for one. So Ringo obviously would be the one you get. But, so every time you put out an album...
Yeah, I like that cover too. It's his name... And he's the eye.
Yeah.
And you see he's kind of leaning on
right.
like...
and it looks kind of like Sergeant Pepper with all the characters behind him. But Ringo the Fourth, I'll tell you, some people say that's because he was the fourth Beatle. Whether that's true or not, I don't know.
Now, the song that I am most familiar with when I listen to all this is called You're 16. You're 16? She's 16? Something like that. I think it's You're 16.
You're 16. You're beautiful on your mind.
Yeah, which is... and people... And he didn't write... He actually...
No, it's a cover song.
Yeah, it's a cover. The Sherman Brothers wrote it.
Okay.
I don't think they're the ones that sang it. I think it was another guy that sang it. And then Ringo redid it. And, Ringo's... I think the first guy went up to 8 and Ringo's went up to number 1, obviously. But just a weird... Hey, look!
Okay, so he was...
I'm a pedophile.
He was 33 when he sang that.
Yeah.
And in the video, it's Carrie Fisher.
Okay.
The girl in the video is Carrie Fisher before she was in Star Wars. She was like 17.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, but when you say you're 16, that girl, 16 years old, could have doubled her age. She still would have been younger than Ringo Starr.
But the title's fine if he was talking about my daughter.
Right.
16, she's mine. He's not talking about that. He's talking about somebody you're dating.
Yes.
And now the UK is different than America. You know, they always have age
there's age
differences.
discrepancies. I understand that, but yeah, that's probably not. You probably don't want to be singing about a teenager when you're way older.
I showed you the one comment somebody
The best
made.
comment.
Yeah, if you go on a YouTube video, the first comment that has the most, the top comment is that she's 16.
She's pregnant.
She's pregnant. It's not mine.
That's why you shouldn't disable YouTube comment because those are the most wittiest people out there. Anyways, all right, and what else is there? So one of the albums, even though they were commercial failures, there is one cover that I like, and not the Ringo one. It's the Ringo's Rotogravure, because it's a picture of the day the Earth stood still, and his head is
it's
placed
the
where
robot,
Michael Rennie is. The robot's still there. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool. But somehow, he had to have paid money, and he obviously could afford to do that. Hey, could I use your picture? Yes. Here's money. So, I don't think there's anything else.
Unless you want to keep talking about caveman.
Yeah, if there is, I'll mention it during the top 10 list. So let's go ahead and get to the top 10.
That's it.
By the way, a rotogravure is a printing system. I did look that up.
Caveman plot kind of does mirror Ringo's life. Okay, so if you read early on...
did he throw his first wife in a pile of dung?
No, if you read about Ringo's life, you'll see when he was young, he had a lot of illnesses, and he didn't go to school because of it, so he was kind of behind and like, I won't say illiterate, but like, so cavemen, they can't really... They only got a few, like 16 words. In fact, when the movie came out, they passed out a pamphlet of the 16 words so you could translate, but you didn't need it. You watch the movie, you know what they're saying after a while. But so he has illnesses in the movie. Dennis Quaid's character, they're banished. They're both banished from the thing. Which when
Right.
he became a Beatle, they didn't like him. They didn't. No, we don't want him as a Beatle. And then they like, yeah, we love it. And so that kind of news came in because he becomes the
Dennis Quaid's character was only banished because he
was limping.
He
That's
twisted
all.
his leg.
Yeah.
That was it. That boots you out of a
Yeah.
camp.
So, anyways, well, they see each other after Ringo gets banished, and they run at each other, and that fixes their back.
And that supposedly is why now man walks upright.
right.
So,
But Ringo was sick. And he was cured.
yeah.
Like caveman was.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe that's why he has a doctor song. Oh my. Okay, so, and I'll tell you what, that no song that we mentioned, it was written by Hoyt Axton, right? He actually's like, he actually says, hey, why don't you do this? He's like, no, I don't do that anymore. And he actually has a lyric.
Yeah, the sniff for the cocaine.
What?
Yeah.
Well, you
I
wrote
don't
that
know
on your lyric sheet.
I don't no more. That's how it goes.
That's how you know that is a novelty song, and you have to do stuff like that. All right, and the word snooker means to hoodwink. Just in case you want to know. All right, so let's get to our honorable mention. You only have one.
Okay.
A Dose of Rock and Roll. That was not a good song. I don't know how it makes the top 10. Let me see what you had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. You had it at number 8, so it wasn't. Surprisingly, we don't have just the top 5 list. I considered just doing a top 5, but yeah, I mean some of them are recognizable down the list. So we'll do a 10.
Musically, I liked his older stuff. Like around when it got closer to the 80s, I just thought the music started to sound better.
It did, but it's, like I said, unrecognizable. You're like, that's not a hit. But you could tell once it got to the 80s, you could tell he wasn't going to stay on the charts. It's sort of like Barry Manilow. You knew.
Yeah, what I was reading is around that time, they were just musicians dabbling in music,
right?
Instead of
cocaine.
Yeah.
Junkies dabbling in music. Is what
Yeah,
it said.
so that's why they really weren't. Their hearts weren't in it, I guess, anymore.
Yeah.
Which he's the richest drummer. Who cares?
Yeah, it's your hobby. That's all.
And then he would later, and he'd like looking for somebody to put his album out. Why didn't you look for somebody? You have enough money, you can do it yourself.
Did he though? Was he rich when they were in the 80s, or is he now because all the old stuff you can start selling out and you're getting millionaires bidding on it?
Okay, I guess
I
don't know why.
At the time, he might not have been rich. He might have got rich later after people
royalties and stuff.
Hey, nostalgia. Let's go back in time.
Okay,
that's what I think. Okay, number 10 from Ringo. But which album would you buy, by the way? Goodnight Vienna actually has more hits, but Ringo's the one that has the top songs, like number 1.
Yeah, and they said that's Cockney slang. Goodnight Vienna is Cockney slang for "it's over" or something like it.
Yeah, Goodnight Vienna. It's like Elvis left the building. Another phrase for that. Okay, so 10.
Probably Ringo.
Coming from Ringo, Photograph, and you have it at 12, so you don't even have his first hit in the top 10, and I have it at 8, so I didn't
too
like it.
slow.
It is why people thought that was his best hit. Now, the very first hit,
It's what people liked back then.
the very first charted song he put out, Beaucoup for Blues, is his worst hit. We both agreed that song sucks. It was the first one that charted. But anyways, Photograph is number 10. Number 9, coming from Goodnight Vienna, it's All Down to Goodnight Vienna. I have it at 10, you have it at 6.
I had to look at the lyrics to listen to what he's saying to hear it. I like, wait a minute, what? Go back.
Now, Vienna's not in Britain, though, so why use that phrase?
That he must have visited and liked it. And it's a good night.
Okay, next one up. Number 8, his last...
I'm sure he didn't make up the phrase either. That was probably a phrase.
Yeah,
for some reason, it probably began somewhere for some reason. And UK people just started using it.
Vienna, where's that at? Italy?
I guess sausage. You know, sausage. That's all I know.
Is that an
I think it's Italy.
Italian sausage?
It's not Italy. Will be like this. Other people are like, how many hours are in a day? One. Really?
Is Florida a state?
No.
Okay. Anyways, number 8, coming from "Stop and Smell the Roses," is last charted song, but even then it didn't. It was like all the way up to 74. "Wrack My Brain."
Ever seen anybody do that?
What?
Stop and smell the roses. You're like, look at that guy. He's like,
Yeah.
see what he's doing? He's smelling roses.
Well, back when like they didn't have phones, everybody have a phone in their hand, and there's nothing else to do.
Okay.
Little House on the Prairie, you had something there. That was, hey kids, you want to go for a walk? Why? So we can stop and smell the roses, because there's literally nothing else to do. Okay, anyways, I have this "Rack My Brain" at number 9. You have it at 4, and it was one of his more rockin' songs. Obviously, it's later, getting into the electric guitar and all that kind of stuff, but still not very good.
But rack with a W.
That's like billiards, right? Hey, you rack them up. That's how you spell it. So your brain is on the pool table. Okay, number 7, coming from RR. What's RR? Ringo's Rotogravure. That's what it is. Angelic. "Hey Baby," which is also a cover song. I forget who sang that before. Hey Baby. Anyways, that's not very good.
Yeah, like
I have it at 7.
you just got a cough drop.
I need a drink. Anyways, you have it at 5. I have it at 7. I would say from here on up, these are the better. Obviously, songs you want to listen to. 8, 9, 10. Who cares? All right, number 6, coming from Ringo. "Oh My My." I have this at 5. You have it at 7. And "Oh My My," what's this song about?
No idea.
No idea? I think it's the doctor's song. That's right. Anyways, he's talking to a doctor. Doctor, give me the news.
Doctor twice, so that's why you did a my twice.
Right. Okay, next one up, number 5. "Back Off Boogaloo." Non-album song. He had a couple songs they released. He didn't
That
put it
guy's
on an
name
album.
then? Hey, Boogaloo, back off!
Yes, and again, you know how towards the end they were reading into lyrics of the Beatles?
Alright.
They were probably reading into the title. That's him getting back at Paul McCartney for leaving the Beatles. I have this one at 3. I actually like this one. If I was to go back and redo the list, because I start listening to songs again because it's hard to listen to them one time even.
Okay.
I'm like, why didn't I put that higher? 3, I have that at. You have it at 9. Video doesn't do it justice. It makes it, you're like, yeah, this song sucks because you watched the video. Next song up, also a non-album song. So like he put out his first album, one song on it. Then he released a couple songs that aren't out. How do you get those? Because they had those singles, right? And that's it. It Don't Come Easy, and I had this as my number 1. I would alter this again. Like first listen, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty good. I'll put that number 1. And you have it down at 10. You know what it sounds like? Eric Clapton's "Let It Rain." I think that's why I put it up high, because it sounded similar to what I can remember. Okay, number 3 and 2 both come from "Goodnight Vienna." So it's a debate between "Goodnight Vienna" and Ringo, but Ringo has the more popular songs. But number 3 is the "No No" song. You have it at 3. I have it at 6. How many times does he say "no, no"? No,
Well, he only says it
no.
during the. It
I
just
know.
says it during the chorus.
Yeah, that's definitely a novelty song. Can you imagine hearing that on the radio?
Now, yeah, I don't.
Okay, next one up would be "Snookeroo," which has a better beat. It's a little bit faster than most of his other songs. You have it at 2. I have it at 4. By the way, you have the correct order for 1, 2, 3. I'll give you that. But "Snookeroo" is our number 2 song, and that leaves his best song is probably the most well-known song. I would say that's the most well-known. And again, the debate would be, is it because of him or the other guy?
Yeah, okay.
I don't know that we ever heard Ringo's version, but he's got the higher charted version.
I think Ringo's the version I would know.
Do you think so? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've heard
You have it at 1, I have it at 2 because I put that other song above it, and that's your 16, You're Beautiful and You're Mine. And the lyrics for him would be, I'm a pedophile.
I don't know if did you see this though. Okay, so on the song, Paul McCartney is credited as a kazoo solo. Kazoo?
Yeah, that's right, but it was actually his voice.
It was his voice. He was going.
That's right.
And they, yeah.
And that passed as music.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot to mention this. One of the things, I guess here's one of the good things about the album Ringo. It's the only album amongst all the Beatles where all the Beatles were on it. So there was one or two specific songs that Ringo, George, and John all played on. But then there was another album on the same album that him and Paul McCartney. All right, so Ringo had a couple songs that him, George, and John sang on, and then separately he did a song with Paul. I think Linda was on that too. So, but it's just amazing to me that you got Ringo, George, John, Paul, all coming from a band that had the most #1 hits, and then they all separate and also have #1 hits. That will never happen again. Of course, do bands even exist anymore? Or
yeah, I don't know.
Just
now it's just their names, whoever the singer is,
and a lot of them don't even play instruments. So, anyways, so that's our completion of the Beatles.
Yeah. So since we've tied every album, just about Ringo. Let's see, we did Ringo. Did we do John?
I don't know. I don't know if he had a tie-in.
I didn't think we did. Ringo
He might have.
had a tie. George Harrison. How did he have a tie-in? At least Ringo and Paul McCartney for sure.
There's one specific tie that ties all Beatles, and that's that in Goldfinger, James Bond said, "You need earbuds."
Oh yeah. Okay.
to listen to them.
All right, but we've mentioned James Bond. And at least 3 with Beatles, Paul McCartney, and Ringo Starr.
Yes.
So we're going to rank the theme songs.
We're
a song. And
we are going to instead of a top 10, we're just going to rank them all the way down the line. Now, I gave you a list that contained 2 extra songs. Okay, you got a song from every single movie, and then you got Louis Armstrong's song because it's famous, even though it wasn't the title song. And then you have the oddball James Bond movie that came out with the same year Octopussy did.
Yeah.
Never Say Never Again, which probably won't be very high, but I want to throw it in there anyways. So 27 songs, and we're going to rank all of them. And that'll be next week. All right? Bye.
But